Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk.
What's going on, Sooner Nation? Yeah, I know you had a good weekend. Man, welcome back to the podcast. We've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about what happened in Tuscaloosa and what it means for Oklahoma, for the SEC, and for the entire college football playoff picture, because the Sooners didn't just win a football game on Saturday in Alabama. They delivered, I think, the clearest message yet of the Brent Venables era. And remember, we talked about this, whether this was the defining moment. Would this be the biggest win of Brent Venables' tenure? We talked about the biggest game of the season yet. And yet Oklahoma, they walk out of the stadium winners, in control of their own destiny, and really in contention now from being not just in a playoff conversation, but in the conversation of hosting a first-round game. And I think what we learned more than anything else, we had said, hey, we had assumed this, we had suspected this, but it is crystal clear now. Oklahoma is not building a defense. Oklahoma has a defense. And it's just changed, I believe, the entire trajectory, not only of Oklahoma's season, but of the playoff picture. Let's jump into this. Let's start talking with a few days under our belts to really process what happened in Tuscaloosa. You know, for weeks now, even months, we've seen signs of what Oklahoma could become. You could see it in the stats. You could see it in the efficiency numbers. Even those early season tests like Michigan. Everything points to a defense that's not just improving, but also evolving. And there's a difference. There's a difference between potential and realized identity. There's a difference between good enough and game swinging. And then there's a massive difference between promising and elite. And on Saturday afternoon, we stopped talking about potential. We stopped talking about improvement. We stopped talking completely because Oklahoma's defense took over this game. The Sooners imposed their will on the defensive side of the ball, and then they walked off the field with probably the most program-defining win of Brent Venables' era. So you got 23-21, upset over number 4 Alabama, a win that snapped the Crimson Tide's 17-game home winning streak, a win powered by defense, mixed in with some resilience and timely pressure, not powered at all by the offense. And I think that's the thing that should scare everyone else moving forward, not just for the 2 different sets of Tigers that are coming to Norman, not just for the postseason, but when you look into the future and you look at how young these guys are, how nasty they've become, I think Oklahoma served notice. And let's be honest, right? No one's going to make a documentary about Oklahoma's offensive performance in this game. The Sooners totaled 212 total yards of offense, 138 through the air, And they didn't exactly sustain long, methodical drives that we kind of said they might need to. But here's the point that matters. Here's what you've got to take away from all of that. Is that Oklahoma's offense not really having a big day did not matter. Because the Sooners did not need to be perfect offensively. They didn't need to throw for 300 yards. They didn't need to have flash and tempo or schematics to win this game. When you've got a defense playing at this level, when you've got a defense that's punching people in the mouth in the fourth quarter on the road, the only thing your offense needs to do is not mess anything up. Don't lose this game. And that's exactly what John Mateer did. No turnovers, no critical mistakes. He did what was needed. He did just enough. And that is the definition of complementary football. That's the mark of a team that understands who it is and it embraces that identity. And there's people out there that are mad about not scoring a lot of points. They're mad about not putting up a lot of offensive numbers. They're mad about this and this and this on the offensive side of the ball. But how many times have we seen an offense produce 350, 400, even 500 yards and walk off the field with an L? Give me a mediocre, subpar offensive performance because it's not needed and walk off with the win because your defense is that dominant. I will take that 7 out of 7 days a week. And let's talk about the turnovers because I love what we're seeing now. Alabama came into this weekend as one of the best turnover margin teams in the entire country. Like, protecting the football was one of their strengths. But Oklahoma completely dismantled that identity. You got 3 takeaways. You got 17 points off of those takeaways. And every single one came in a moment that changed the trajectory of the game. You start with Eli Bowen. Early on, Alabama had a long drive, and they were cooking. They crossed into the 25. They're getting close to the red zone. The crowd was swelling. And then Ty Simpson floats the pass towards the sideline. That's where Eli Bowen is waiting. He jumps it, and 87 yards later, Oklahoma now leads 10-0 when they looked like there was the potential they were going to go down 7-3. Most importantly, that stadium was shocked and silent because Simpson came into this game with 1 interception all season long. And now he left this game with an interception, with a fumble, and a whole new respect for what Brent Venables brings on the defensive side of the ball. And he even admitted after the game, maybe you saw his quote, "I've got to do a better job of taking care of the ball. I felt like I could have done some stuff differently, but spoiler, there's not a lot differently he could have done." Oklahoma forced him into hesitation. Oklahoma forced him into confusion. Oklahoma forced him into mistakes that he doesn't usually make. And when people talk about, oh, well, Alabama turned the ball over, yeah, great. But what does it tell you when a team that doesn't turn the ball over suddenly does it 3 times in one game? You got to give credit to the defense that's forcing those turnovers. You've got Ryan Williams, right? On the punt return, he puts the ball on the ground. Sooners pounce on it. 2 plays later, John Mateer cashes in with his legs, and now you've got a 17-7 game. Alabama had crept back in. Sooners only lead by a field goal, but suddenly the team with the 4th best turnover margin in the nation looks rattled and down 10 again. And I think it's just fitting, poetic justice, if you will, that Oklahoma seals it with a fumble as well, with the turnover. You got Taylor Wein coming in untouched on the edge. Alabama's clinging to a 21-20 lead. Boom. Sack, fumble, ball game shift. Kendal Daniels is the one who jumped on, I'm pretty sure. But you got 3 plays later, Tate Sandell drilling the field goal. That's the final points of the game. And DeBoer said it again after the game. The turnover battle, obviously, got killed there. That became the game. Everybody knows it. The question is, where are they going to put credit for those turnovers? Were those miscues by Alabama, or were they forced by Oklahoma's defense? And I think it's a matter of how you want to try to shift the perception of this game. But let's talk about the Final Four Alabama drives. The Final Four, ready? Punt, fumble, turnover on downs. That's suffocation. That's closing. That's elite defense. That's what Oklahoma does, and that's what they do well. Brent Venables, the way he brought pressure, master class. And I don't know that this is a storyline that's been talked about enough, is how Oklahoma timed its pressure. So early in the game, you got disguise, you got patience. That leads to confusion. Late in the game, you've got aggression, you're bringing heat, and that's kind of dictating the terms of what's going to happen. And Alabama absolutely looked confused early, but then they looked overwhelmed late in this game. That's coaching. That's a masterclass by Brent Venables. That's development of his player personnel. That's a defense that knows exactly how to finish a game on the road. That's the recipe we saw them put together in Knoxville and perfect in Tuscaloosa. That's why Oklahoma holds Alabama to just 57 total yards on their final 4 possessions. Think about that. Listen, 57 yards at home in desperation time. That's what Alabama's offense was able to produce against Oklahoma's defense. So I don't want to hear that Alabama made mistakes. I want to hear Oklahoma forced Alabama's hand. That's just the way it is. But there's also a hidden dominance here that we've seen really cultivate with this team, and that's in the area of special teams, right? The defense steals the day. They steal the storyline. But I think behind the scenes, you gotta tip your hat and give kudos to the special teams that's going on. Tate Sandell clutch again. 24, 52, 24. Those were his field goals for in yardage, and every single one of them mattered. But it's not just Tate Sandell, who is spectacular. Let's talk about Grayson Miller. 46.7 yards per punt average. And he pins Alabama inside their own 20 3 separate times. So that's 80-plus yards they're going to try to move on this defense. But at 7:24, his kick into the coffin corner, I mean, down at the 6-yard line, that sets up the defining defensive stand of the day, right? And that's what a complete team looks like. That's what a mature team looks like. It's absolutely what a playoff team looks like. And I think we need to talk about this plainly. I mean, we need to express this as clear as day. Oklahoma they're not improving. They're not much better than last year. They're not good for the SEC transition. Oklahoma's defense is elite. And elite defenses do things like win in Knoxville, win in Tuscaloosa, force 6 turnovers in 2 weeks, and home winning streaks. They close games with everything on the line. They score when the offense can't, and they make veteran SEC teams look uncomfortable at home. This is the SEC now. This is Oklahoma's league now, and this is their defense that is leading the charge. So, what comes next? Here's where things start to get interesting. You've got Missouri and LSU coming to Norman in the next 2 weeks. Oklahoma controls its own playoff destiny. If you win both, you don't need help. You don't need chaos. You don't need a hope. You don't need to keep looking at the scoreboards and seeing who's doing what. Just win 2 games. Win 2 games and Oklahoma's back in the playoff. And I mean, right now, doesn't it? I mean, it just feels like this team is peaking at the perfect time. Because the defense that we saw in Tuscaloosa, it wasn't good enough just to win that game. It was good enough to win postseason games. It was good enough to win neutral site games. It was absolutely good enough to win big games because we just watched them do it. And if the offense just plays clean and opportunistic, man, this team's going to become a nightmare matchup for anybody who they end up drawing in the postseason. So let's end with this, okay? Let's end this first segment of the Sooner Nation podcast. By the way, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you give us a like and a subscribe. But for years, the heavyweights of college football were defined by the colors of their defense: maize and blue, scarlet and gray, crimson and white. But we've seen something shift. Now, the most disruptive, confident, dangerous defense in America wears crimson and cream. And the SEC is starting to notice. This was not a fluke. This was not a lucky punch. This was Oklahoma announcing itself rather loudly, I might add, in the toughest conference in the country. And if this is who the Sooners are now, pay attention. Get ready, because they're only going to get better.
In Walmart's Hoonuville, everyone ready their cart. Amazing Black Friday deals are about to start. Online and in the app, such great deals to explore. Everything you love from tech, toys, and more. The days to save and the ones to remember. It's only the 25th to the 30th of November. Set your alarms. Don't miss out. These deals are epic, without a doubt. The Who's are all ready, but are you? Walmart Black Friday deals await. Who knew?
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
Welcome back to the Sooner Nation podcast. We've got some other things that we'll talk about later on in the week. We got to get to the basketball court. Talk about Oklahoma dropping the game. I think they probably needed against Nebraska. We'll get some Thunder talk in later on this week as well. But right now it's all about Oklahoma. It's all about Alabama. That's what we're diving into. Probably the most, like I said in the opening segment, defining moment of the Brent Venables era. It's a moment that didn't just happen on the football field. It happened inside one of the most intimidating stadiums in America, a place where dynasties are built, where quarterbacks crumble. And a lot of times teams go in there with national title aspirations and they go there and die. The aspirations, not the team. But this Saturday, we saw a dream come to life. We didn't see it die. We saw it come to life. Because for the second straight game, Oklahoma walks into a hostile SEC environment, absorbs every punch, they counterpunch harder, and then they walk out with the win that echoes far beyond the scoreboard. By the way, 23-21 final score. This wasn't just a victory for the Sooners. This was a declaration. Oklahoma didn't just beat Alabama. They ended streaks. They ended narratives. And they shoved their way right back into the forefront of the college football playoff conversation. And you want to talk about significance? Let's start here. Alabama had won 17 straight games in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Kellen DeBoer has never lost a game at home as the head coach at Alabama. Oklahoma had not beaten a top 5 team on the road since 2017. And the Sooners ended all of that in one afternoon. But here's what makes this win different. Oklahoma did it with a blueprint that's becoming their calling card. With a defensive identity that's not just showing up, it's taking over football games. And for the second straight road trip, Oklahoma forces 3 turnovers. For the second straight road trip, they turned those turnovers into a scoring avalanche. You got 20 points off of turnovers at Tennessee, 17 more off of turnovers against Alabama. This is not a chance. This is not luck. This is a defense creating its own momentum. And it all started with the moment that flipped the stadium upside down. That was Eli Bowen giving the spark that kind of lights the fuse, if you will, right? You want electricity in a bottle. That's what Eli Bowen's interception was. And we talked about this again in the first segment. We mentioned this. Ty Simpson comes into this game having only thrown one interception all season long. But he drops back, he looks right, he tries to hit a quick out, and there's Bowen. I mean, he read this play like a children's book. He jumps the route, he snatches the ball, he stays in stride, and then it was 87 yards of adrenaline after that. And go back and do yourself a favor. Do yourself this favor. Go back and watch that play. Watch it once for the play, and then watch it again for the sideline celebration. Oklahoma, the players, the coaches, they are losing their minds on that sideline. And then go back and watch it and pay attention to what's happening, if you can, the shots at the Alabama sideline, the shots up in the stands in the stadium. They're stunned. They are shocked at what they're seeing happen. And there's Bowen sprinting in the end zone and producing on defense the longest play Oklahoma has had all season long. And here's the best part. This wasn't random. This wasn't wrong place, wrong time for Simpson. This was Bowen knowing exactly what was coming. This was when preparation meets opportunity. Now, think about this. Before this game, Eli Bowen's only other interception in his career, Alabama, 2024. And think about what he said after that game. Simpson, sorry. Think about what Simpson said after the game, right? I read you this quote earlier. I've got to do a better job of taking care of the ball. I feel like that I could have done some stuff differently. Well, you know what? In the first segment, I said, no, you really couldn't have. You know, there's just not a lot that Ty Simpson could have done differently. But now, the other thing you see in this comment, the other thing you see in this statement is regret. Right? That's a regret talking. That's regret brought on by Oklahoma forcing him into mistakes that he normally doesn't make. And that's what I was getting at in this opening segment. And it's the same thing. The same thing with the Ryan Williams punt. He cuts right, and then Jaden Hardy just delivers the punch, right, that knocks the ball loose. Amasigo hops on it, and then, before Alabama can even process what's happened, there's John Mateer, 20-yard touchdown. And you're up 17-7. You're back in full control of the game. And this is a stadium that's supposed to be intimidating. It's literally getting quieter by the second. And Alabama's defensive leader, Deontay Lawson, he admits this after the game. When you turn the ball over 3 times, you really can't expect to win in this league. He's right. And Alabama never forced a turnover against Oklahoma, but Oklahoma forced 3 against Alabama. And again, I love that third one, right? That was probably the most momentum shift changing moment of this game. It belongs to Oklahoma. You got Taylor Wein, charging in with Alabama up 21-20. The stadium wants to erupt. They want to bring it back to life. They've got the lead. They've got the ball. And it looks like they've regained their footing. But nope, here comes number 44 like a missile. Sack, strip, fumble, chaos. Got Kendal Daniels jumping on it. Oklahoma taking over at the Alabama 28. And they only needed a field goal. I mean, everyone's like, oh, we should have had a touchdown there. Why? Why risk something when you're already in field goal range? 3 plays later, Tate Sandell drills a field goal that gives Oklahoma the lead for good. And here's the thing. And I think this gets overlooked a lot. And even I'm guilty of this and rehashing this game. That wasn't Taylor Wayne's only big moment. Think about the field goal before halftime, right? He blasts through, he jumps over the line, he gets a hand on the ball and blocks Alabama's field goal attempt, right? So if you give Alabama those 3 points, this is a different game. This is a different moment. And those are the hidden moments. That's what defines road wins in this conference. And who called, right? Who called Taylor Wayne becoming one of the most disruptive edge players in the entire conference? And he has shown it over and over and over again on the biggest stages that he's here to stay and he's legit. And here's I love how the talking heads try to twist things. It's all about stats, right? Well, Alabama had over 400 yards of offense. Oklahoma only had 212. Guess what? Stats lie. Stats lie. The game doesn't, right? So someone's going to open up the box score and they're going to look at this and go, yeah, 406 yards and 212, 326 passing yards for Ty Simpson, more first downs, more time of possession. But the stats don't tell you the story. The story is this: Oklahoma controlled the parts of the game that actually mattered. The Sooners held Alabama to 80 rushing yards. One of 6 opponents. One of 6 that Oklahoma has held to under 80 yards this year. The Sooners held Alabama to 57 total yards in their final 4 drives. And they held their composure in the most intimidating environment in college football. Sure, Alabama, they could move the ball between the 20s, but they couldn't finish. They couldn't close, because every time the game tightened, Oklahoma's defense rose like a wall. And if you want the best example of that, look at the final drive. 7 minutes, 24 seconds left in the game. Oklahoma's up 23-21. Grayson Miller drops a punt inside the Alabama 6. Probably one of the best kicks of his life, but probably not the best kick we're going to see out of him. He's just that good. And Oklahoma's defense goes to work. Alabama gets to snap the ball 12 times. 12 plays on this drive. 12 opportunities for Alabama to steal this game back. Here's what Oklahoma allowed. Nothing. Not a single thing. On 4th down, Simpson heaves a desperation shot towards the sidelines. It's incomplete. Again, everybody interrupts on the Oklahoma sideline. It's pandemonium. It's chaos. It's a ball game. John Mateer comes out in victory formation, takes the knee, and the celebration is on. The players start sprinting towards the visiting corner of Bryant Denny, and it's just, I mean, look, it felt like that moment, right? That moment was big. That's not something that happens very often in that stadium, to see the visiting fans celebrate a victory. But that's exactly what happened. And that's why you feel like this is a turning point for Oklahoma. And we've talked about a lot of people in this game. But I want to go back to Tate Sandell one more time, because I think probably the quietest superstar in all of college football right now is Tate Sandell. I mean, when you've got a defensive grinder like this one, like what happened in Knoxville, that's probably what's ahead of the Sooners. Kickers either win the game for you or they lose it. Alabama missed a critical field goal because it was blocked. Sandell was nails. And he dominates the moment. In this game, 3 kicks, 3 makes, 25, 52, 24 yards. And I hate talking about streaks, but at least I'm not talking about why he's playing. But 21 consecutive made field goals. That's a record for Oklahoma. It's the second longest streak in SEC history. And 7 of those 21, a third of them, beyond 50 yards. So Sandell's not just a nice piece to have on this roster. He's one of the reasons Oklahoma is still in the playoff hunt. He's one of the reasons there's still something to play for going into the last couple of weeks in November. And let's do this, okay? Let's zoom out. Oklahoma is now 4-0 against teams. How can I say this? Well, let's just do that. Because you lost the Texas game, right? You lost the Texas game, ranked opponent. You lost Ole Miss, ranked opponent. But now you got 4 wins against opponents who were ranked at the time. Michigan, still ranked. Auburn, we know what's happened there. Tennessee, still ranked. Alabama, still ranked. So you dropped the game to Texas. You dropped the game to Ole Miss, and those are the 2 blemishes. But I said this facetiously last week, but I'm going to say it again. It's not like they lost to Florida, okay? So you've got 4 wins over teams that were ranked at the time that you played them. 3 of those 4 are still ranked. So I'm saying it this way. Oklahoma, not soft wins, not padded wins. These are playoff resume wins. And of course, this was Oklahoma's highest ranked road win since that 2017. Yeah, the 2017 team, Baker Mayfield, goes to Ohio State. But this is also a game that happened, a dominating performance that happened, a clutch pressure-packed performance that happened in front of 100,000 fans. It's the fourth largest crowd that Oklahoma's ever played in front of. Two of the four largest crowds in playoff history, program history. I don't know why I said playoffs there. I'm reading these stats here. This is crazy. Two of the four largest crowds in program history have come in the last two games for Oklahoma. And they've won both of those games. What does that tell you? It tells you that this team hasn't grown up. It tells you that this team doesn't just believe in itself, that they are a legitimate elite power program. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me the identity is wrong. Tell me who this team is wrong. And this is what should scare everyone else. Again, not just in the SEC, but whoever else is left on this opponent on the opponent list when it comes to the postseason. Because what we're watching with Oklahoma is not a one-year fluke. We're not watching a lucky run. This is a roster that is maturing into something dangerous. You've got Eli Bowen becoming a star. You've got Kip Lewis playing like an all-conference linebacker. We talked about Taylor Wein, probably the breakout edge rusher in this league. You got a secondary that's turning quarterbacks into pretzels. And you've got a defensive line that's controlling the interior like we haven't seen from Oklahoma in years. So this team is evolving into exactly the thing Brent Venables was hired to build. A fast, violent, disciplined defense that wins games in the fourth quarter. And we talked about it. We know what Alabama says. We know what the takeaway was, right? The takeaway was the takeaways. It was the turnovers. I read you that quote from Kellen DeBoer. The turnover battle obviously got killed there. That became the game. And that's it. That's the whole Alabama summary. They moved the ball. They had the yardage. They had their chances. But you know what they didn't have? They didn't have ball security. And Oklahoma punished them for every single mistake. So here's where things stand for Oklahoma right now. They control their own destiny. They are absolutely, completely in control. Missouri comes to Norman, then LSU comes to Norman. Like we said in the opening segment, you win both of those games, not only are you in the college football playoff, you may actually host a first-round game. And we're not talking about just kind of sneak in. That storyline is dead. We're talking about positioning now. And that's actually pretty wild considering where this team was after losing to Texas. People wondered if the sky was falling, right? Think about it. Fans questioning whether this team was ready for the SEC. You know, even nationally, analysts were kind of writing them off. You got to see people bring back out the fire Brent Venables charges. Now they look like they're one of the toughest outs in the entire league, in the entire conference, in the entire landscape of college football. So yeah, this team, they may not always win pretty. They may not always win with 500 yards of offense. They may not blow teams out the way past Oklahoma teams did. But they have something those teams didn't have. This team has belief. They have resilience. And they have a defense that's built for big moments. On Saturday, one of the hardest places to win in America, Oklahoma found a way to win it. And if they keep playing like this, they won't just be in the playoff. They'll be the team that nobody wants to see in the playoff. Because the SEC has learned something over the last 2 weeks, something really, really important. Oklahoma's not just in this league. Oklahoma doesn't just belong in this league. They own this league right now. They are contending in this league right now. And guess what? They're coming for more. So thanks for hanging out with us here on the Sooner Nation podcast. If you've enjoyed our deep dives, please make sure you subscribe, give us a rating, share it with another Sooner fan who needs just a little extra joy this week after Oklahoma smashes Alabama. We'll be back later on in the week. We're going to break down Missouri, maybe some LSU talk at the end of the week, everything else in this wild playoff race. Until then, enjoy your week. Enjoy this moment, Oklahoma fans. You have earned it. Boomer.
I'm gonna be the man